And what's your name?
Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica. No, look, I think that's a great, I think you put it perfectly. And actually, that's the approach we've taken in Florida. So, for example, and it's not just limited to low income, government can't solve these problems. That's obvious. I mean, you know, we saw, I mean, in the 60s, they did a war on poverty. They said they just spend money that will end poverty. And what happened is they created a culture of dependency that caused problems. So it was a total failure. And other stuff that's been done just hasn't done. So what's the role? Government's role is, there are certain things that it can do, but we've tried to use government in Florida to be a facilitator for resources that are outside of the bureaucracy. So for example, my wife started something called Hope Florida, Pathway to Prosperity. So when you go in for, say, welfare benefits, yeah, you can just say, here, whatever the state can give you and do that, and then just keep coming back. But we know that's a dead end, right? So she created something called the Hope Care Portal. I know Iowa's working on this too. So we've invited churches, we've invited charities and nonprofits, we've invited businesses, we've invited even individual volunteers to be plugged into this portal. Someone comes in, maybe it's a mom who got evicted from her apartment, she's got 2 kids and she needs a place to stay, that goes. Now maybe government can help, but the minute that goes in, it goes out to all these other groups. Guess what? The churches spring into action. Maybe an individual just springs into action and do. So government is serving as a way to connect people to a lot of resources that are in our society, because people want to help their fellow citizen, but when people need the help, a lot of times they don't know where to turn. So we're going to do this, for example, the federal government, we're going to do it with veterans issues. The VA, I'm the only veteran that's running for president, and so I remember leaving active duty, getting a stack of papers about veterans benefits, and I didn't need anything, but like I didn't understand what was in. I mean, it was bureaucracy, and it's a terrible bureaucracy. So people go into the VA, maybe they'll get help. A lot of times they don't. We'll have a portal where we'll have these veterans groups plugged in. We'll have charities. We'll have churches. We'll have businesses. We'll have individuals. And it could just be something, a veteran has post-traumatic stress that goes out. Maybe it's just one individual that gets out and says, you know what, that person lives, in the neighborhood next to me. Shows up, hey, I just want to make sure you're okay. Can I take you out to get lunch? Just doing that may avert a suicide. And then you have something where we have groups that train service dogs to be paired with veterans with post-traumatic stress. And it mitigates the symptoms, and the suicide rate goes down dramatically. And then there's so much in the private sector of people that want to help veterans in particular. So that, I think, is the role, is really being a conduit to some of these things. But if it's just a bureaucracy going in, that is not going to change the trajectory of any of these communities.